you all are here tonight. Welcome, everybody. I do want to recognize real quickly, we do have probably some elected officials I know I'm going to forget. I know Commissioner Sullivan has just walked in. We had Councilmember Bates in Clermont, somewhere here, I believe. Over there, right there, okay. Anybody else that I'm missing? Oh yeah, he's back. So also from Clermont. Appreciate you all being here tonight. We also have a few early from the Eastern Florida Regional Planning Council who joined us. Appreciate you being here. Tonight is the first of a series of public meetings for the Wellness Way Sector Plan. There have been meetings on this before, but this is kind of the first public meeting that we're having. Simply put, especially for the residents that are here tonight, this is your chance to be heard. We're going to get into some details tonight of the sector planning, processes, some planning terms, maybe even some linguistic kind of stuff. I completely understand if some of your eyes kind of glaze over and it gets a little boring. Those processes at times are very hard to follow and understand. But what is most important for you tonight, I think, is not necessarily those processes, but it's important to know that tonight we are putting together a plan for a large part of South Lake County. And this is a plan for the next generation. And I want your input tonight. Why planning? Why the sector planning? Many of you, I hope, are here because, like me, you realize that if you don't take a community-based planning approach, you'll have piecemeal growth, uncertainty about natural resources, and an economy that continues to be centered around housing. I'm sure all of us think about our quality of life in our community on a daily basis. I know I do. Many of us in this room have probably often said things like, geez, I wish they had only made that road wider. I wish they had put that park in a different spot. I wish they had made more sidewalks and more trails. Or maybe you're also like me and you think about water resources a lot. I often tell people that hopefully one day we'll look back and we'll say with happiness that we don't use potable water and high-quality water sources for landscape irrigation. We save that for our businesses and for human use. Well, all those questions, that's why we plan. We can't protect and improve our quality of life if we don't plan for it. Tonight we embark on a plan that is not about another scheme. It's not another scheme or a ploy to pave over South Lake or some UN conspiracy that sometimes is talked about for new urbanism. It's about embarking on a planning process that is driven by us, by you, and it is for our children. I fully expect skeptics along the way. It's okay to ask questions. It's encouraged to ask questions. But my challenge to the skeptics, and really all of us in the room tonight, is to be solutions-oriented. A close friend told me one time that the world is full of PhDs in problem identification, and so few of us, there's so few PhDs in being solution-oriented. This is America. We do have property rights, and hopefully we all appreciate the opportunity to better ourselves and build some wealth. And it's very true that some of our landowners, the only wealth they have is in the land that they own. And in South Lake, we have a very engaged community, great turnout tonight. A lot of us are very concerned about quality of life. And for years, property rights, business, and quality of life have clashed, especially here in South Lake. This clash has hurt many of us, and it's benefited only a few. Some say there's a trade-off between the economy and environment. That is not true. We know it's not true because we have had one side or the other for many years, and yet we still have all the questions that linger today about improving our quality and what are we going to do for our next generation. Being solutions-oriented, being part of the solution is the challenge tonight, and especially through this process. It is what most successful communities do. I want to thank the landowners for coming forward and getting out of your comfort zone to take part in the planning process, and I want to thank all of you residents that are perhaps out of your comfort zone tonight to take part in the planning process. I want you to help us shape the opportunity. The South Lake Plan presents an opportunity to bring billions of dollars, literally billions of dollars of economic value and growth and thousands of jobs for our next generation. And yes, all while protecting our environment and our natural resources. I want you to help us shape that opportunity. Your patience tonight with sometimes seemingly ambiguous planning process is greatly appreciated. But it is simply how we collect our data and how we gather public input. And I have absolutely the greatest of confidence in our consultants and what they're going to do tonight and how they're going to take us through this process. Enough of me. I want you to enjoy tonight, and I'm going to turn it over to Carrie, and I'll meet you back at the end of the meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Commissioner Park. And my name is Carrie Teo. I am the project manager for the Wellness Way Sector Plan. I'm with Little John Engineering Associates, and we have the pleasure of being able to help form this plan for this really important section of the Lake County Sector Plan. I would like to just briefly introduce all of our facilitators here tonight. We have a very rapid-paced agenda tonight. We really have to stick to time allocated so that everybody can be heard, everybody's ideas can be laid out on the table, everybody can have discussion, and just really use our time wisely. So we have to be very cognizant of that. So going around, I'm just going to call your names out. If you would raise your hand, you'll see who the facilitator is at your table. We have Pat Tyefsky. Pat. We have Fred Lacey, who is back there in the back. We have Jay Hood, who also took a back table. We have Sarah Whitaker. We have David Pluck. We have Jeff Pardue. We have Chris Doherty, who's here. Which table are you taking, Chris? All right. We have Anita Briner. Where's Anita?
This way.
There you are. You took a back table, too. And Barry Wilcox is over here. And then I'll be facilitating the table as well. And I'm thinking we may need one more because we have 11 people. All right. So our agenda for the evening is that I'm going to give you some background and an overview of sort of where we've been, what we've found out so far, and then we're really going to get into the nitty-gritty of letting you guys do some work and give us your input. And your facilitators will help you through some table exercises that we're going to do tonight. You're going to elect a table reporter at the very beginning, and that person will report out to the group at the end of the session, and then you get to do some voting and prioritization as you leave the room. So with that, knowing that, there are some details that you have to know. Sector plan is part of Florida statute. Citation is here. And it was designed to allow for the large-scale planning of really large pieces of land in Florida that is sort of like a blueprint or a framework map to guide future development, but the details happen at a later time after this part of the process. It's called the detailed sector area plan. This process really got started quite a few years ago. It's got a lot of history through the Wolfstead Task Force. I think the official real kickoff of this actual sector plan process itself was at the scoping meeting held last fall at the Regional Planning Council, and there were a lot of attendees there. There were a lot of issues put on the table, and we have thoroughly reviewed all of the input that was received at that meeting. We were then engaged and had a kickoff meeting in May of this year to kick off the project, and we are going like a fast, high-speed rail train towards the deadline that I'll share with you in the end, but we're going to get this thing done. So at the kickoff meeting that we had in May, there were quite a few folks who attended. Some of the landowners were there, as well as a lot of staff. And we came up, I'm not going to read all of these to you, but we came up with what we call the cornerstone principles of the plan. And what we heard was that economic development is the top priority. That's number one, number two, number three, economic development in this part of Lake County. We need more jobs, and it needs to be a priority. Quality of life. We also want to maintain our agricultural uses that have been a part of the heritage of this county, and it continues to be a good revenue-producing source of income for this county, and it's viable. Some people say it may not be in 10 years, but there are new industries coming in here, the blueberry industry, for example. So agriculture is going to continue to be part of the South Lake County land use scenario. There's a real desire from the process side. It's interesting. Of course, we have the Horizon West experience over in Orange County to look at now, 10 years later, and see how that's played out over time. But there was a real desire for this process, and for any developer who will undertake a project under the sector plan or within the sector plan, to have a process that's very clear, very flexible, very easy to understand, very transparent, and very clear, and that staff uniformly applies the rules and the interpretation of the plan consistently over time. I want to take a minute and I want to talk about something that I want you to try to express tonight in the exercises that you do at your table, and that's to talk about quality of life and what is a balanced community. And we've had a lot of discussion so far in this process about we need a lot of space allocated for employment uses. We really don't want any housing. Some people say we really don't want certain kinds of industrial uses, or we want more open space, and there are a lot of competing interests. But what we need to keep in mind is that this needs to be a balanced community, and a balanced community has some of everything in it. It's a community where people can work, and this sounds an old saying, but work, live, learn, and play. We're hoping to reach a goal in 2040 where there aren't a lot of people commuting to Orange County for jobs. There are jobs here in Lake County. People are spending their money here in Lake County. They're living here. But there will be a balance of jobs, housing types, open space, agriculture, and all of the pieces that make up a daily life of a neighborhood or a village, grocery stores, restaurants, significant areas for employment. So all of those things are land uses that we want you to think about tonight as you're going through that. When we went through our interview process with the county for this project, we did a sort of a before and after of what we thought a significant mixed-use area could look like in the sector plan area. And this is actually Shell Pond, the view there. And this next image shows what a balanced community is. It's walkable, it's got places for cars, people, it's bicycles, it's some vitality, it's a mix of uses, and it's a place of higher density. So there has to be some of these located in the sector plan area to achieve our goal. Whoops. Going the wrong way. All right, sorry. We also looked at some comparables to give us an idea of scale. The sector plan is 16,000 acres in size. It's a very large area. When you look at it on a map, you look at it it's on your table. Gee, it can't be that big. But we, to help ourselves, sort of think about how big this area is, compared it to other places that we either have done work in or we thought were comparable. So we looked at Sierra, which is, I don't think I have a computer around here, the colored plan up on the left, which is almost the exact same acreage. It's a full balanced community, the new town in Brevard County. Their development program is about 150,000 population at build out. We were doing a one-to-one jobs to housing balance there, so that's their goal to achieve when it's finally built out in 2050. We also looked at Peachtree City, which is a master planned community outside of Atlanta, Georgia. That some of you may have visited before. It's a very successful, popular place to live. The Woodlands in Texas. All of these are in scale. The bottom one is Carmel, Indiana. And then you can see a little inset of Heathrow there, which is, I'm sure all of you know where the Heathrow Employment Center is along I-4 in Orlando. And Heathrow is a very, very intense high employment center. It also has housing, all varieties of housing, and you can see the scale of Heathrow compared to the sector plan area, which is in the very center of this map. So when you're thinking about how large to draw employment centers, think about these scale issues. So we have spent the last 2 months analyzing every piece of data we could get our hands on relative to the sector plan area, looking at all of the issues from natural resources to economics to fire, police, water, sewer, and I'll go through that quickly. And this slide, we're starting with economic development because it is the most important. This is a snapshot of where Lake County is today in terms of number of jobs. We thought, let's see, 20,000 people a day drive to Orange County to work from Clermont to work elsewhere in the MSA. They don't all go to Orange County, but they leave this county and they go to another county. And there are some Orange County residents that do drive to Lake County for jobs, but a really disproportionate few. Shocking number for me, 735,000 new jobs expected in the MSA by 2040. So there is a lot of expected job growth in this region, and we have to think of ourselves as part of a region, not just from an economic viewpoint. We're part of a region. We're not just a county by ourselves. And these are the top 5 industry sectors that are expected to grow the fastest over that time. This map illustrates the existing land uses in the sector plan area, and you will see that it is almost all green, which represents rural land uses. So there, in the purple area that you see is the Conserve 2 land that is owned jointly by the city of Orlando and Orange County, the recharge area. I'll talk about a little bit more in a minute. This is the future land use map that is currently in the county comprehensive plan and their adopted plan. Again, it shows almost the entire sector plan area in agricultural use, and we also see the conserve area located here that's called public institutional, and there is a bit of industrial in the area, but it's primarily rural. So in looking at sort of the history of growth trends around the sector plan area and growth pressures, you'll see that in 1990, the sector plan is down in the bottom right of the map. There really wasn't too much, there it is, there's nothing there. In 2000, you start to see development encroaching from the north, from Clermont, as Clermont is going through its growth spurt, and also land use starting to pressure up north from the 192 corridor in Orange County and Osceola County. And then in 2010, this shows that further growth, kind of coming in from the both edges, the north and the south, towards the sector plan area, although there still is not much growth happening in the sector plan area. But I think you can see where growth pressures are naturally trending right now. From a transportation perspective, this map shows you that there really aren't many roads in the sector plan area. Most of them are rural or unpaved. And we highlighted the 429 because that's a very important driver to the future success of economic development in the sector plan. These are some pictures from our site visit that we did during our kickoff meeting. This is what's currently in, I believe this came out of the county plan for either existing or planned roads in the sector plan area, and again, you don't see very much happening there. So we have a blank slate, that's the good news. From a natural resources perspective, I think we are very blessed in South Lake County to have lots of beautiful lakes, topography, rural open space, forested and grassy wetlands. You'll notice that most of the left hand shows the 100-year floodplain and our surface waters, and the right map shows the regional wetlands. Again, what's white is upland, and what is in color is not upland. These two maps here are showing the biodiversity, which includes a database that really looks at ranking priorities to protect biodiversity in Florida, and it looks at habitat, rare species, natural communities, and again, you'll see that you've got the greatest diversity and the greatest complexity of natural systems and resources in the southern part of the sector plan area. This map is a map that is going to be reflected on the map you're working on tonight, and it shows sort of the priority, if you want to call it that, open space network system that will be guiding our decisions as we're planning, and hopefully yours tonight as you're putting some colors on the map, where you will look at where the greens and the reds are. Think about that as areas where we can have regional parks, community parks, trail systems, kayaking trails, things that provide open space for residents that will live here and in South Lake County in the future. This map again shows that there really are no parks or trails really to speak of in the sector plan area. Lake Louisa State Park is just right off to the west. There's a nice trail system there. But again, we need parks in the area. We looked at public utilities and services for water. The left map shows that there are a lot of existing wells within the sector plan. Probably a lot of these are agricultural wells that are in use for existing agricultural uses. The right map shows the service areas for water, and there are three primary servers of water to the sector plan, with Clermont being in the north, Lake County Services in the middle, and South Lake Utilities serving the southern end. This map shows the service areas for the wastewater, which pretty much corresponds to the water service areas. You'll see some lines on the map. The purple lines and the red lines are the Clermont joint planning areas and the ISDA. So getting into some technical terms here, but it's basically where Clermont might have the right, I think both of these are pending, but might have the right to provide services in the areas within these boundaries. So we have to consider that. Really, another very important factor that will influence land use, particularly because it's located in the very center of our sector plan area on some of the highest and most developable land, is Conserve 2. Conserve 2 is about 2,800 acres of land that is jointly owned by the City of Orlando and Orange County, and it is located on the best aquifer recharge area in Central Florida. Sarah tells me that, so I believe her. So our team has been working with Conserve to discuss there are needs that Conserve has for future growth of their they dispose wastewater on the site, and then they reclaim water and they provide it mostly to agricultural users in the area. And they have plans for future expansion of the wastewater disposal areas and for other facilities, as well as a large lake. And so we've been working with them to figure out how we can create some east-west road connections through their properties, talking to them about possible future development on their properties and the possibility of maybe a regional park on the Conserve property. So it is a very important player in the land use component. This map shows the EMS and fire service located. There are none in the sector plan area. The closest are down south by 192, and then again up in Clermont. So I'll talk a little bit about the sector plan process and what it is. It's important for you to understand the level that we're at. We're at a 10,000-foot level in this first step of the sector plan. And what we are doing is amending the comprehensive plan of Lake County. Specifically, we're going to be amending the future land use element to add the goal, objective, and policies for the Wellness Way sector plan. And the two things that we're required to do by statute is provide a framework map which shows land uses, intensities and densities of uses, projected population. We can pick the planning horizon year, which is 2040. And we also have to provide written goals, objectives, and policies to go along with the future land use map and framework map. The next step, which is beyond this project, is the detailed specific area plans, or the DSAPs as we call them. And that is the equivalent of zoning or PUDs, as many of you may have done here in Lake County. And it gets down to the level of land development regulations, design guidelines, and zoning. So those will be left to the landowners to do. We will provide guidance in our written document as to how the DSAP should be prepared, what the criteria is for them. But it will then be up to, once this process is over, a new future land use map will be adopted for the sector area plan. It's not a vision plan, it's a future land use map, the force of law. And anyone who does not like the land use that ends up on their property will have to go through a comp plan amendment to change their land use. So that's important to understand. It's not an easy message to deliver, but that's something you should know. So let's talk for a minute about a framework map and what that might look like. This is a map that we prepared a sort of a conceptual plan or a framework map for our interview for this project. And this is what we'd like. These are to give you ideas of what we'd like to see you draw tonight on your map. And it's not going to look this pretty because you won't have that much time. But it's basically to show where the different land uses could occur. So on this map, the purple is employment. The pink are mixed-use areas, town centers, activity centers. The kind of orange is a rural reserve area, is agriculture and very low density housing, and the green is conservation. And then we showed a road network. We think it's really important to have a better east-west road network that currently exists in the sector plan area to connect from Lake County to Orange County and certainly to Horizons West, which going on right next door to it. So this is an example of some of the ideas that we've thrown around in our office. This is not intended to be final in any way. That's why you can't read it very well. It's very fuzzy. But it shows how we're starting to think about laying out land uses and relating to Horizon West and what's going on the eastern edge of the sector plan area, and also trying to relate to Clermont, to the Disney area, and then creating some new centers along 27, along the western edge of the sector area plan. We also put together a transportation network map as part of that series that we presented to the county, showing what we thought would be good suggestions to propose roads to serve this area at build-out in 2040. And this is the current thinking right now on the roads that would be the framework or the bones, if you want to call it, of the road infrastructure within the sector plan. And this has been vetted, at least preliminarily, through a group of transportation agencies about a month ago. And this is the consensus at this point. And this shows some early cross-sections that we'll be developing for how different roads would look. If it's a 4-lane road in a rural area, you know, it will look like this, and it will occur in this area. If it's a 2-lane neighborhood road, you know, this is what it would look like. So you can expect to see those contained in the plan. This was an open space and trails network that we produced, another framework map that shows potential trail locations and park locations within the sector plan with the intent of connecting to the very rich system of existing trails and or planned trails that we have in the area, in the region. Okay. Now we talk a little bit about the other part of the sector plan that we have to produce, and that is the goals, objectives, and policies. So this first slide is the goal that we have drafted as a first draft, and it is just being unveiled tonight, or actually staff saw it yesterday, and you will get to comment on this. It's posted up on the wall over there. You can tell us you hate it, you like it, and write your own. We have also come up with draft objectives, which are the next level down. They're still intended to be sort of the 5,000 feet, but we have 8 topic areas. So the first one is economic development, and you'll get to review these at your table, so I'm not going to spend time reading them to you right now. The second one is land use and the built environment. Transportation, which we wanted each of these to be measurable so that the county will know if they are making any progress towards these objectives when they measure things 5 years out. So you'll notice there's a number in the transportation one. Reduce vehicle miles traveled by 20% by 2040. Environmental resources and open space. Interconnected is a big word there. Public facilities and community infrastructure. Ensure that there are adequate facilities. That seems like a very basic thought, but we know that there aren't any facilities in this area right now, so how are we going to get them there, and how are we going to fund them, and where should they be located? Financing is a really key factor in making a viable and feasible plan. So we actually have a team member, he's not here this evening, Bob Neighbors, who is going to help us figure out a financing plan and help us phase infrastructure that's needed for all of these services I talked about tonight over time. Intergovernmental coordination is very important, especially in this area when we're in partnership with Orange County, we're in partnership with Clermont, we're very close to Disney, we've had a few conversations with them. So we have to, again, think regionally and think about partnerships with other government agencies. Implementation is the final topic or objective that we have. All right, so we're going to talk about what are you doing? What are you going to do here tonight? And I'm just about on time. We are going to do 2 table exercises, and the first one is going to be that you, as a group, are going to create your future vision for land uses in the sector plan area for 2040. So don't think about what's there today. Don't think about what might be there in 5 years. Think about 2040. Stretch your mind a bit. It's hard to do, but we have colors that will represent the different land uses, and we'll explain those in a minute. The second exercise that we're going to do will be a shorter exercise, and we're going to ask for your input on those objectives that I just showed you. We have them posted on the wall, and we're going to let you write some of your own. You may not like ours, so you can pick a topic or 2. We don't have time to cover all 8 topics, but pick 1 or 2 topics and write a few objectives as a group. And then, as I said, we have about a half an hour for 3 minutes a table for the spokesperson to report out on the results of their master plan that they created during the first exercise and any objectives they might have written, even if they're words, but they don't have to be full sentences, but ideas or objectives. And then we're going to take those and paste them up on the wall here for you to take some dots at the end as you're leaving and vote for your top 5 favorites in terms of priority. And you'll also be given some stickies. So if you want to write some comments that can't be represented by a dot, but you really have something passionate you want to say about one of these topics, just take your sticky, your table facilitator has those to provide to you. Talking quickly about the land use categories, you have 5 color markers on your table, and these 5 land use categories that will be used on the future land use map that will be adopted by the county are conservation, rural reserve, mixed-use suburban, mixed-use urban, and employment. And these are in ascending order of intensities and densities. So conservation is what you all know as conservation. It's open space, generally owned by the public. It's parks. It could be public-private partnerships or private easements for conservation of the land. Rural reserve is intended to preserve agricultural uses and very low density residential uses associated with those agricultural uses. We'll also have some policies that will encourage clustering of in rural subdivisions where people may want to do a little denser subdivision and save some more open space on their parcels. Mixed-use suburban is the idea of a neighborhood. It's lower density, mostly single family, maybe some attached townhomes or duplexes. It's your daily grocery store, up to the corner Publix market, right up the street from our office. So, you know, where you get your daily needs met. It should also have office and some employment, so that, you know, if you're a lawyer, small practice, you know, you might have your office located in a suburban mixed-use area. The mixed-use urban area is intended for what we call town centers. They're the higher density, they're attached housing, primarily, some single family, but with a fuller mix of uses, including employment, shopping, retail, perhaps more regional retail, hopefully in a more walkable format than, you know, what we have seen in the suburban sprawl of, you know, the surrounding areas in the past decade. And then finally, employment, which isn't just employment by itself. It should have some housing in it. It would probably have more like apartments or multifamily housing, but you want to provide a place for people to work, either a campus-like setting or something for research, technology, the emphasis on wellness way, and being able to attract research and high-tech businesses to the area, and, you know, manufacturing, warehousing and distribution. You have a great north-south road system, and you have the future connections to the 429, and we need to take advantage of those to the maximum extent possible. So there is a written description of all these land use categories on your table that you can use to consult with. Your facilitator is familiar with these, and you will use these colors to draw your vision. And remember that parks can go anywhere. So if you want a pocket park or you want a regional park, it's important to think about parks when you're drawing your plan. Then the second exercise is to, as I said earlier, look at the objectives that we've already written, and again, you have a copy at the table, and decide if there's one topic that really suits your fancy that you would like to tackle as a group, and write 1 or 2 new objectives. We'll hang them on the wall, and people will get to vote on them. So before I let you get started, this is the end of me talking. I just wanted you to see the process that we have. We are really in the section of up here, the circles at the top, we're drafting objectives and policies right now, and we're drafting a master plan, and that's why we need your input right now. We are headed to transmittal hearings in October, late October, and early November. The next workshop is with the Board of County Commissioners on October 22nd, and there will then be transmittal. The final one is November, early November. So we are doing a ton of work, but 2/3 of the work related to this project is done in the first 6 months. The second 6 months will be when CCA is reviewing this. We're going to have another public workshop. Then we have our adoption hearings, and there'll be a little bit more breathing room at that time to get some more public input. So these are the relevant dates. I might just keep these up for reference. And at the end, we'll give you your dots, and you're free to go at 8 o'clock, but it's time to work now. So I want to be sure we have a facilitator at every table. I think that's my table back there. Okay, it's your turn.